All right, let's dive into a really fascinating report from the World Economic Forum all about the future of fintech. And the big headline here, the industry's wild, kind of chaotic gold rush phase, well, it's over. Now, a totally new, much more deliberate era of city building has begun. And this quote right here, it just nails it. The whole fintech world is shifting gears. It's moving away from that pure, explosive growth model to something way more stable and integrated. The new mindset really isn't about disruption anymore. It's about construction. So what does this next chapter actually look like? Well, the report uses this fantastic metaphor to explain the whole shift. And you know, this metaphor is just perfect. Think about it. The gold rush was all about frantic digging, right? Everyone was just racing to strike it rich. But city building? That's about creating something that lasts. You're talking infrastructure, partnerships, a whole system designed to serve everyone. That is the fundamental change we're seeing. Okay, so what's the actual proof for this big shift? Let's follow the money, because the numbers themselves tell a really interesting story about how these companies are growing now. Now, at first glance, you might look at this chart and think, uh-oh, that's not good. And yeah, customer growth is slowing down. It's normalizing from a crazy pandemic-fueled 55% down to a much more stable 37%. But this isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of maturity. The big land grab is over. And what's happening instead is actually way more important. Get this, while customer growth slowed to 37%, revenue growth actually went up to 40%. So wait a minute, how is that even possible? How are these companies making more money while adding new customers at a slower pace? Well, here's the answer. It's not about the mad dash for users anymore. The whole focus has shifted to building deeper, more valuable, and yeah, more profitable relationships with the customers they already have. It's that classic move from quantity to quality, which is a telltale sign of any maturing industry. This change in focus is also changing who fintechs are working with. I mean, remember when the whole goal was to disrupt and maybe even replace the big traditional banks? That story has completely flipped on its head. A massive 84% of fintechs are now partnering directly with those very same institutions. So how's it happening? Well, over half the time, it's through API integrations. The easiest way to think of an API is like the digital plumbing that connects two different systems. It lets a sleek, new fintech app talk directly to a giant bank's core infrastructure. So instead of fighting each other, they're plugging into each other. This new, more mature phase isn't just shaking up business models, though. It's having a huge human impact by really focusing on financial inclusion. You know, a really key part of building a successful city is making sure it works for everyone, not just a select few. And the data shows that fintech is making some incredible strides in reaching people that the traditional financial system just often overlooked. So let's look at who is actually being served now. First up, over half of all fintech customers are small and medium-sized businesses. These are the engines of our economies, and they've often really struggled to get the attention of the big banks. And the reach goes even further. Almost half of their customers are from low-income populations, which means bringing tons of people into the formal financial system for the very first time. And on top of that, 41% are women, another group that has historically been underserved by traditional finance. When you put all these numbers together, you see this powerful story of expanding access just coming into focus. And here is the absolute key takeaway from all this. This isn't charity work. The report makes it crystal clear that serving these customers is a profitable, sustainable business model. It proves that building an inclusive financial city isn't just good for society, it's actually really good for business. So, what's the single biggest tool that's being used to build this new financial city? I think you can guess. It's artificial intelligence. I mean, just look at that adoption rate. A staggering 80% of fintechs are already using AI. This isn't some trend that's coming in the future. It is the fundamental technology powering this entire financial city right now. And the reason for this crazy fast adoption is pretty clear. AI is delivering a triple win. You've got 83% of firms saying it makes the customer experience better, while 3/4 of them are seeing both lower costs and higher profits. It literally makes the business better, cheaper, and more profitable, all at the same time. But of course, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Every powerful new technology comes with its own set of challenges, its own risks that these city builders absolutely have to confront. And the fintechs themselves, they point to AI-generated deepfakes, cyber attacks, and data privacy as their biggest worries.
These are the new frontiers of risk they have to figure out how to manage to keep their city and all its citizens safe.
Okay, so let's pull all these different threads together. What is this whole shift from a chaotic gold rush to a well-planned city? What does it actually mean for the future of your money? What we're looking at is a future that's more stable, way more collaborative between new tech and the old banks, far more inclusive of everyone, and it's all powered by incredibly smart AI. This isn't just some small tweak to the system, it's a fundamental reshaping of how money works for all of us. And that brings us to our final question, and this one's for you. As fintech becomes this seamless, intelligent layer that just sits on top of the entire financial system, will the traditional bank you grew up with slowly just fade into the background? Will it become the invisible plumbing of a city that you never even have to think about? Definitely something to consider. Thanks for watching.